Welcome to Coffey Talk, real stories from real people. I'm your host, Kate Coffey Bacon, and every Monday we'll sit down for honest conversations about successes, failures, and the lessons we learn from both. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk. Welcome back to Coffey Talk. These are real stories told by real people. I'm Kate Coffey Bacon, and today's conversation is for anyone who's ever looked around the room and thought, why is no one doing this? And maybe even more importantly, what if I could? Today, I am joined by Michelle Serna. Michelle didn't apply for the job she has today. She built it. Actually, she built multiple roles that didn't exist before her, from recovering over $4 million, can't wait to dig into that one, in operational loss in her early 20s, to becoming a Microsoft MVP in Business Central, to stepping into her fourth net new role at TruNorth as SVP of Revenue. Michelle has consistently walked into rooms, identified gaps, and designed solutions before anyone gave her permission. But what I love most about her story isn't the titles, it's the pattern. She sees a disconnect, she builds a bridge, and she does it before the business card even changes. Michelle, welcome to Coffey Talk.
Thank you. My goodness, my cheeks are going to hurt from smiling at that intro.
So let's jump in. We've talked about this so much that I love that you didn't ask for a seat at the table. You designed and built the whole damn table, and I love it. But before we talk about TruNorth and SVP of Revenue, I want to look back at 22-year-old Michelle. What did you see that no one else did then?
I think I just saw that there was a gap. There was money that was not being captured in a way that anyone had really thought to look at before. So I just took a chance on being creative and trying to fix a problem that I saw, and it paid off in the end. The biggest thing is just look for those empty gaps and what can fill them. It's usually something that we can do pretty easily as long as we're willing to work hard for it.
Yeah, so this wasn't technically your job, but you stepped in and fixed it. What made you think this is something that I can do? This is something that I can fix?
Being surely stubborn is a good part of it. But really, my personality is just to fix things. I love solving problems, figuring out how things tick, finding ways to make it more operational. So when I saw that we were losing money because of other companies, I figured, I wonder if we can get that money back from them since they ruined our opportunity. And you mostly just have to ask. Usually you ask the first time and you might get some pushback, but you push back, and a lot of people just want to find less friction. So, whenever you're willing to create a way that's less friction, it's usually going to work out for everyone. So, it's actually pretty interesting just looking around and seeing how can I fix that small problem, taking a chance, talking to people. Communication is key in all of it.
Yeah, well, taking that chance and building that bridge started building career capital for you. It was, like I said, it was a pattern that started for you then that has continued. So let's dig into what happened. How did you identify this loss and how did you fix it?
Sure. Yeah. So it was a company that sold goods through other stores. And when those goods were delivered, they were damaged or ruined either because of the delivery team or because of some process, or the store that sold it had a really relaxed return policy. So then we'd get goods returned years later, and we'd have all this product in our warehouse that was damaged in some way, whether delivery or customers in the end. What do you do with that? That's a lot of money that you lose by having to refund or replace those pieces. So I started looking at the delivery team that maybe damaged the goods while they were being put into the customers' homes and filed claims with them. And they couldn't deny it because of our contracts with them said that they wouldn't damage those goods. So we started getting the value of those pieces back. Now, the company that allowed the relaxed return policy, they would start reimbursing us because the clients would have this product in their home for multiple years, and that exceeded the normal policy. So it was really just digging in and looking at where we were losing money and trying to get creative in how we could get it back, at least the cost. You're not going to get everything back, right? But when you start looking at all of that adding up, it makes a big difference over time.
There's something so powerful about that moment when you stop waiting to be asked, when you
Hmm.
just see an opportunity. We have a culture fundamental at my company where we are always adding value in every space. Oh, hello, pup. Oh, hello.
Hi.
Oh, I love it. In every space that we step into, we're adding value. So, I mean, I resonate so much with your story, with what you have done, and you just saw an opportunity and you went for it, and
For it.
it is, and you didn't just do it once. You've done it over and over again. So you're awe inspiring for sure. So you have created now 4 new roles at True North that didn't previously exist. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah. So when you look back, what was the common thread between each one of those transitions?
I think the biggest thread was, again, identifying gaps and need, finding where you can provide value, and really believing that your value is meaningful to the company as a whole. So it's not about just what can I do for myself, it's about what can I do for the company. And when you shift your mindset to caring about the collective instead of just your immediate, that's when it all starts coming into focus. That's where you can really build trust with your peers and trust with your company. And once people start trusting you and finding you reliable, and you start identifying the gaps, the combination of the capital that you've built with the team and the gaps that you've identified start helping you transition into those roles that fill those gaps. And that I think is my favorite part of the journey is finding the gaps and again fixing. Such a big fixing personality that it then motivates me even more to keep going for the next thing.
You're talking about proposing new roles. So you're going to essentially executive leadership saying, this is not, I'm not asking for a promotion. I'm proposing an entirely new role. What does that take emotionally to propose a new role instead of asking for just a promotion?
I think it's harder and easier. When you're asking for just a promotion, then usually it's coming with you're replacing someone else or you're saying you can do it better than someone else because usually when that role's already existing, there's someone that's in there, right? So that's one kind of, obstacle and emotional play. Still scary nonetheless, asking for a promotion, of course. Asking for a net new role to be created for you is asking someone to really believe in you in a much bigger way because you're thinking about the cost of that role that didn't already exist, right? And then your role that you had previously is probably going to go to someone else if there was value in that role. So you also need to think about who can fulfill that spot without it losing its value. So it's emotionally pretty scary and taxing in the fact that you're taking a big leap in yourself as well. You're putting yourself out there. And you have to ask yourself at times like that, if they say no, what am I going to do? Am I okay with that? Am I not? So does no mean I'm looking for a new job? Or do I have enough trust that what I'm proposing to them is actually something they'll also see value in? Your political capital within your space is going to be huge in that moment. Have you earned that trust? You really have to sit down and ask yourself, one, have I earned this position? Is there value for it being a long term role? And have I ultimately gained enough political trust throughout the company to be able to propose this without someone just, you know, absolutely saying no without moving forward? But it's also really fulfilling. I mean, to deeply believe that you've provided that value and going out on a limb, asking for it, and getting exactly what you asked for, it's very fulfilling not only in sense of career but in sense of self, and it's a feeling that you'll never forget. At least I wouldn't.
It's that old saying, and then my dad used to say this to me when I was a kid. He would say, when you get older, your hindsight will be 2020, right? So it's knowing and trusting yourself, not only your leadership seeing and trusting you, but you trusting yourself as you step into this new space of seeing gaps and filling
Mhm.
those gaps. And you've built a career of this. So you have this resume of fixing and with numbers. You have the numbers to support the ask. So a question that I would have for you, kind of in more of like a mentor path, do you have any big piece of advice that you would give from a mentor point of view for a young professional starting right now?
I think one of my big pieces of advice would be find who you are unapologetically.
Mhm.
For me, I'm a little bit weird, a little bit quirky, a little bit silly. But when it comes down to it, I'm a really hard worker and I never give up on what I'm working on. And so I turn whatever I work on into that style. I don't try to turn off my weird or my quirky. I actually try to use that to help my strengths even more. So just don't be afraid to be you and turn that into your value. Like I said, I'm a fixer and I'm stubborn. I turned those two things into my value. And so I think that's my biggest piece of advice. Figure out who you are. It's going to take time and it's going to change too. Over time, it will absolutely change, but don't ever be afraid to use that in how you build your career because that's the way you're going to be the happiest and the most successful.
Man, that is such great advice. When I stepped into the Microsoft Dynamics into channel, I'm not a highly technical person. I have learned, and I think you can learn and you can become that, but by nature, I'm not a highly technical person. I am a people person. I am a bring people together kind of person. And I mean, I'll be really honest, when I stepped into dynamics, I really was like, I don't know that I'm going to be effective here. I don't know that I have any value to add to this community. And I just started because maybe because I am a little bit older and I have had, some career shifts and changes, and I have a lot of confidence in the things that I've done. I was like, I'm just going to dig in with who I am and do what I do.
Mhm.
And I think I echo what you're saying. Just be who and what you are. When you turn off that authenticity, people notice. When you
Mhm.
just stay true, even if I I love everything that you are. You call yourself weird and quirky and all these things, but it is what makes you authentically you, and it makes you irreplaceable. You're one of a kind. And so leaning into those things, like, I mean, I've had the privilege of knowing you for 2 years, 3 years. Let me give a little bit of context on how I know Michelle. So we did the She Builds program in the fall, and we had 6 speakers that came on stage, TED Talk style, and gave their story and what they've done in their power as a woman. And Michelle was one of the 6. And I mean, there wasn't a dry eye in the room listening to your story and all that you've done. So
Thank you.
yeah, I couldn't be happier with the 6 women that were chosen. I'm so appreciative of you, and I'm so inspired by you.
Thank you.
Okay, now
Back at you.
let's dive into your story. And I mean, I take that big kind of rabbit trail side note just to say, if you're listening and you feel like maybe you don't fit in, perfect. Great. I love that. Like, don't fit in. Be authentically you and show up. Just stay the course. Just stay the course.
I find it interesting that you say, having conversations, people can tell when it's not authentic or when you maybe don't feel like you fit. At the conference we were just at, we got to share a panel speaking, and you and Sam Bush were speaking about marketing. Now, in my role, now I oversee sales and marketing has not been something that I've spent as much time on as sales because I did pre sales in previous roles. So I've got a closer handle on that. And listening to you 2 talk, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know anything compared to these ladies. I have no idea." But as the session went on, I just kept staying with what I believed in and what I knew, and by the end, I felt like I belonged again. So it's really interesting, like, even as we go further through careers or conversations, you'll have those moments where you're like, "Nope, I do not belong here. I don't know how I got in this role. Oh my gosh, what did I do?" But if you stick with it and you remember to be yourself and trust what you know and what you've learned, you're going to come back around in that circle of going, oh, wait, I do actually belong here. I just have a different experience than other people. But that's actually the golden part of networking and having conversations because I learned so much at that conference. but I also feel like I got to teach a lot at that conference about the things that I knew. So it's very valuable when you just take the time being yourself, but also taking the time to learn who other people truly are as well.
That's so true, and I have made it my mission to be the weakest link in the people that I surround myself with.
Mhm.
Because when you surround yourself with greatness and people that might think differently or are different field, then you start learning more and you become more well-rounded. And I want to be at tables with people where I am learning, leading, of course, but also learning. And just like you did on that panel, like there are times I've had conversations with you and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that I've never seen the world like that, or I had no idea of that side of the business, but now I do. And just more of that, like not getting out of an echo chamber
Yeah.
and learning more and having just conversations of I'm going to teach you and you can teach me. So all that we were just talking about with, areas that you've had to grow and expand kind of leads me into the next question that I have for you. I want to talk about a quiet kind of chaos that's going on. Sales not always aligning with delivery, forecasts not always matching reality, clients slipping through cracks. We all are facing it. How do you lead cross functionally without triggering territorial resistance? Does that question resonate with you?
Yeah, it does. So before moving into this role, I was on the delivery side for many, many years as a consultant and then overseeing the team and being a solution architect and doing pre-sales where I worked between sales and delivery. So delivery actually means quite a bit to me, but I don't oversee delivery. My peer Graham oversees delivery. And a really big part about us not having the clash constantly because, sales makes mistakes, delivery makes mistakes. We all have to own up to it. How do we do that without infringing on someone else's space? We talked about political capital earlier. I work very, very hard to have a great relationship with other leaders in the area because if we all believe in each other and we all work together, we're going to have an easier time in general. Doesn't mean you have to love each other. It doesn't mean that you have to hang out after. Though I'm lucky enough to really care about all of our team, we're all very close, but you do have to believe in them and they have to believe in you. So for me personally, I think part of the reason why we've figured out and are getting better at the kind of combination of sales and delivery relationship is that I've lived delivery, so I can speak to it on a level of understanding. Graham was also a solution architect, so he can speak to the pre-sale side of it and understanding that. So we have common ground and a common language that we've created together to help us define how those areas work together. So that's a really, really big part of it. Relationships are going to help you no matter what. But you also have to remember the customer side almost before anything else. Right now, there's support plans that we have, and lately we've been struggling because clients don't want to sign a year-long agreement. And I was like, well, of course they don't. I right now won't sign a year-long agreement if I haven't used a tool yet. We're looking at different tools like Seamless AI or Zoom Info or any of those. They all want a year-long commitment. If I haven't used it yet, why am I going to commit for a year? And that's when the light bulbs start going off. Wait, if I'm not willing to do this, or if I feel this way about something, my customer also does. So why don't we speak to our own selves and the tools that we offer and the services that we offer? If there's an escalation, how would I want it handled as the customer? Where is a fair balance between these? So I think that's something we've all kind of forgotten, like, we're so quick to do subscriptions or we're so quick to just, like, say no, but we have to remember that in the end, if we don't have a customer, what are we here for then? And so we have to remember to do what we would want done for ourselves, and that's when you start getting the sticky clients. That's when you start getting creative too, because you can't always do what the customer wants. You have to protect the business as well. So you start finding creativity in solving both of those problems together.
Yeah. Is there anything you had to let go of, your own inhibition, your own bias? Is there anything you had to let go of in yourself to operate at that level?
I absolutely had to let go because the Business Central department and our Great Plains team. have been mine for the last 7 years. I started the Business Central department and grew it. It was my baby, but it's not my baby anymore. It's not. And so I had to let go of a lot of opinions of how it should be run, and how the decisions should be made, who's hired, who works on which project. And that's a lot to let go. You have to be willing, in order to grow, you have to be willing to let go of the past and shed what it is that got you there, because you're never going to be able to do it all.
Yeah, and I think that shows you both sides of leadership, right?
Hmm.
That shows you the position that maybe your leaders have been in when you've gone to them saying, "I want to do and try this new thing." And now
Absolutely.
you are on the other side where you are having to trust
Hmm.
that the person that's coming in to take over in operations or execution is the right person. And are
Yes.
they going to come to you and say, there's I see a gap. So it just is that full circle of I see it. What I'm hearing is you letting go on both sides, right?
Yeah,
On
it's
both sides
hard.
of that leadership. There's leadership before a title catches up to you. My title is constantly changing, and I just keep the title under my name on my business card because in 3 months, it's gonna be something different, right? It just the leadership that we are in doesn't always match the title under our name, I guess is my point, and I see that so much with you too. What advice would you give to someone who may be leading right now without recognition?
So I think the biggest thing is, does the title matter to you? For some of us, it absolutely does. For some reason, a title drives me. That's just how it's always been since I was younger. It was something that was held very high in my family. So for me, a title was important to have, but that's me internally, right? And so you need to decide what is important to you. For me, I'm also very driven in general. So I'm going to lead even if I don't have the title. In the end, like, if I didn't have it, it didn't mean I was gonna change how hard I worked. And that's what I meant earlier when I said, "What if they say no? Are you okay with that?" Right? Because in the end, I'm still a hard worker, and I'm not gonna work any less because I don't have the title to match. Just because I want it doesn't mean I have to have it. So you've gotta think about that. But also think about in the different ways that you can lead. So leading isn't only your 9 to 5 job. Leading can also be about the relationships in your position or in your company or within the community. So another way that I like to lead internally is I oversee our culture club. So like last week was National Pizza Day, so we had pizza gift cards that we're sending out so we can all enjoy pizza together, right? Upload your pictures. So I like to lead in the space of growing a nice culture within the company. I became a Microsoft MVP. I like to lead in the space of Business Central because it means something to me. So leadership isn't only the title. Even though that means a lot to me, I'm not going to stop leading because I don't have one. I'm also not going to only lead in a particular area. If leadership and mentoring and growing and being valuable, people thinking you're reliable is important to you, take your chance, because most likely there's someone who needed you to be in that role. So they also knew it was okay to lead.
Yeah. Ooh, let's talk about a big one. Let's talk about burnout. I see a lot of myself in you and the things that you're saying. I'm a high achiever. I'm pushing always, always. How do you avoid burnout in all of these phases of pushing before the title, after the title, during the transition of the title, and
Hmm.
you're after you get the title, you're not going to stop pushing.
Right.
We're cut from the same cloth in that. How do you avoid burnout?
I'm terrible at avoiding burnout. I am coming out of one right now. When we were at the conference, I was probably at the height of my anxiety. I have very high anxiety of my personality, and all of the things came together at once, being away from home, working on a project that was closing, working on another one that's starting and launching. And I said to my CEO, my anxiety is so bad today. And we went out to dinner and we started talking about marketing because I was so excited by the things I was learning. And he just sat there and talked to me for 2 hours about my ideas. And at the end, he's like, "There you are. See you again." So, a really big part of burnout, it's going to happen if you're a high achiever. It's just kind of our personalities. You have to surround yourself with good people who remind you it's time to take a break. I'm supposed to go on PTO next week. I'm having staff changes. And I was like, I can't go on PTO now. I've got to figure out what we're doing. And I had, my CEO, the SVP of delivery, CFO, all sit me down and say, I know that what you think is best for the company, but we need you to take your PTO, come back refreshed because you'll be able to handle it better. So it's the people that you're closest with that you trust that will be very honest with you. It's so important to surround yourself with people who don't just say yes. You need people that will push back on you and be hard on you and tell you no and remind you you can't always do everything. It's a really, really big, important piece of the pie.
Yeah, but really great. I don't think we talk about burnout enough. And I think it's important for us to talk about it and acknowledge it and say, just like you said, like I'm coming out of a big burnout phase. I had no idea. I just saw you. I had no idea that you were in it. But to just acknowledge it and be like, yeah, I'm feeling really burned out right now. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always kind of on the edge of anxiety. That's half like my personality is again the fixer, right? So I usually get things when they are the chaotic moment and then I fix it and bring it down. So anxiety is just kind of who I am and one that I function well with. So for me to be overwhelmed by my anxiety was the clue. Like when I said out loud, I'm too anxious, like I'm bordering a panic attack, that's when everyone was like, but this isn't the good anxiety that pushes you. This is the bad anxiety that actually makes everything worse. So it was so great to just have like instant recognition. That's how well people know me, that we just, were able to disconnect at that moment, able to just take a second and breathe and realize like this isn't actually worth having a panic attack about. We're okay. One of my favorite things that one of my peers at work says is we're not doing open heart surgery. So,
Right.
as stressful as projects can be, or go lives, or cutovers, or due dates for materials that need to go out, we aren't saving someone's life at this moment in time. So, it's a really good reminder that as much pressure as we're under to get things done, or sell the next thing, or have the next campaign planned, we aren't doing open heart surgery at the end of the day. So, we've got to put it all in perspective.
Sweet perspective.
Hmm.
All right, let's talk about growth, family growth. Let's talk about babies. Yeah. One of the things, this is not something that we hear often, is that you left for your maternity leave and you came back to growth. That's not a narrative that we usually hear. What did that season teach you about trust? Tell us more about that.
So I've gone on maternity leave twice in my career. The first one was in the first couple of years of being a consultant. And when I came back and had the opportunity to continue working on Business Central, this was back when it was Project Madeira. So this was early stages. I actually came back refocused on what I wanted to do, and that was be a Business Central consultant. And that's when I ended up coming to TruNorth. So I stepped out of a comfortable role of being a GP consultant that I had been doing for the last, 3 or 4 years at that point. I went to a brand new company with a brand new role with a new product that we barely knew anything about. So I took a leap of faith coming back from that leave to a new job, and it really paid off. My next son, I had about 2 years into that position, and I had been doing that Business Central consulting on my own. We were just starting out, so I was building our processes, I was doing the implementations on our own, I was doing the demos, and so I got scared when it was time for maternity leave. It was during COVID. So it was all, everyone was scared of everything. I couldn't leave the house. I was very sick during my pregnancy. I was on bed rest for 7 months of the pregnancy and delivered 6 weeks early. So it was a scary time, a lot of pressure and stress, not from the company. They were wonderful, but that I placed upon myself because I was building this process out and was scared to leave early and for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or however long it was. But I had a really great team member. Her name is Gina. She was a GP consultant for, I won't say the years because she'll find me and throw rotten fruit at me, but she was a GP consultant for many years. And she had always told me from the moment I started, I will never do Business Central. I'm going to retire doing GP. And so when I needed to go on maternity leave, I said, Gina, just please let me show you a little bit while I'm going to be gone so you can just hold my projects together until I'm back. And she was like, I'll do it for you. And today she's still our lead consultant on Business Central. She never left. She fell in love with it, and she's one of the best consultants I've ever met in my life, just with how much all of our clients and everyone love her and just so smart. But she held the pieces together while I was gone. And when I came back, she didn't leave. So my team of one went to a team of two. And then we needed a developer. So we got a developer. And then we needed a project manager. So we got a project manager. And then we needed more people. So we got more because our little team of just me had more value then. We had two people and we had to make it work. So we just kept growing and pushing together. And I started learning how to lead. Actually, ended up hiring someone who was working for me at the previous job when I was 22. And I started building my own team over there. I brought her over too because we stayed connected over the years. And it just kept growing and growing. And then I started to oversee GP. So I think that we're all a little bit afraid to be moms or to
Mm.
have something that isn't work focused when we're career driven. But the truth is when you're in the right company and in the right place and you put in that value and effort, it's not automatically scary. It can just be the next motivating piece.
So you're talking about big business growth, hiring, motherhood, like your
Hmm.
hearts just expand every time we have these little people. How did you
Hmm.
navigate identity during all of this growth? Motherhood, this is huge change all at once.
It actually started really early with TruNorth, and I'm really grateful for them to this. When I started working there, my son Mateo was 6 months old, and I was their first remote employee. And I was in Pennsylvania at the time, and they were in Minnesota and Fargo. Well, they asked me to go out for a week to have my first week there, get to know everyone, get my laptop. And I was like, I'd love to, but I'm still nursing my son. And they said, no problem, bring him and his dad, and you guys can all come. You can work, take breaks, nurse, pump, whatever you need. And so the very first time I met them, it was as a family with my young son. So immediately I knew it was a safe place because they invited us all along. And it's been like that since then. It's always been a safe place. I work central hours. So now being in California, that means I work from 6 a.m. to 3. And, my kids go to school at 7:30. So usually my first meetings of the day are only reserved for internal meetings because I've got, a kid over here brushing his teeth, or I'm brushing his hair while I'm on the call, or I'm making lunches while I'm taking a conference call. I leave to go take them to school. So that identity and acceptance of being a mom and having a career and being a leader helped me generate the feelings of support and acceptance right from the very beginning. And now it's been over 7 years. It's still the same as day one, if not even stronger, because our leadership team is now 7 people and 5 of them are women.
Yeah.
It's not a statistic that you hear very often, but it reflects kind of who we are as a company, but what we've built it into as leaders, what we've believed is the rightest thing. And so it's become a reality, which is very special. Part of the big reason why I'm here is because of those things.
You've built so much just looking around, seeing opportunity, and just getting out there and building. What advice would you give to someone that may be building their own function right now?
I mean, it's so many pieces. Don't ever stop believing in yourself. Even if along the way you have bumps in the road, just use the bumps to your advantage. Find a way to make it a positive. Not everything needs to be negative when it doesn't go the way that we planned it to be. A lot of the reasons why I am where I am is because I figured something out and was like, that didn't work. But that's okay. That's actually a really good thing. We don't want to be right all the time. It makes it boring. So even if you've got your bumps, that's okay. Repivot, change your direction, find people that you trust. Very, very, very important to find people that you trust. Not only in your company, but in your community. Build your own little unit of people that you can turn to. Like our messages at the end of the day. If I've had a bad day, Kate, Sam, Jacob, you guys, you have to find your community. While you're growing, you have to grow with others. It's too hard to be alone. I would also say don't give up easily. It's too easy to give up and move on something. If you really, really believe in it, do not give up. Even if it takes 2 years or 3 years to get what you want, if you believe in it, it's worth that time. It's worth the effort.
This reminds me of another coffee talk with Stephanie Clark. And then I asked her a question similar to this, like, what was it like leading when there wasn't anybody there? Like it was
Hmm.
just her by herself. And she said it was so lonely. And, my heart kind of it didn't kind of, it ached for her. We've all been in that place where you're leading and you're by yourself and you look to your left and your right and there's no one there, but you know you're doing the right thing and you just have to have courage and clarity and step forward. That speaks to the importance of community, just like you said, making sure you have the right people around you that can support you outside of work, outside of
Absolutely.
industry. Even it's a
Hmm.
bonus when they're in industry because they truly understand. Like you said, we have a text thread that is just, it's just safe space and we just encourage each other all the
Safe.
time. And
Hmm.
so important. At the end of the
It is.
day, it's important to have people around you where you can say, "Man, I'm just having a tough go." And it's okay. Like, just stepping into that space, reminding you who you are, and then pushing forward. This is one of my favorite things that you've said, and I keep coming back to this because it's so powerful. But you've said that leadership isn't about climbing a ladder someone else has built. It's about walking into the room, looking around and saying, something is missing and I can build it. So, what would you
Absolutely.
tell a woman, a person, anyone that's sitting quietly in a meeting room right now that knows there's something that needs to be built?
So for me, I probably go about around this a different way because I'm kind of, nerdy, love the space. I knew that we were missing something, so I physically built it. I learned how to build a Power App and, figured out how to do the pieces and looked on ChatGPT for code. And I actually went and built a report of the information I knew that we needed. That was my first, look at doing different pieces like that. And then I could go, look, this is where the gap is. So it can be standing up in a meeting and saying, I disagree. Most people are so afraid to cause friction and disagree with things, but it's actually something that most people crave. They crave a challenge and to be looking from different perspectives. So just if you don't agree, it's okay to actually say that. If you know that there's a gap in reports or proving data, then figure out how to do it. The world that we live in now, we are so available to do so many things because AI can help us. Like, do I know how to write DAX to build a Power BI report? No, but I can explain the logic of what I'm looking for and actually get the DAX from Copilot on how to put it in there and build their report. But just because something is scary or hard doesn't mean you can't do it, or reach out to your resources that can help you do it, right? So the biggest thing when you know that you have to do something, then actually do it. It's going to be scary, but that's part of the benefit of becoming a leader is achieving those moments where you were afraid and then you did it.
I'd want to add one thing to what you said because
Hmm.
I completely believe you. People don't want to go against what is
Hmm.
expected or go
Right.
against, they don't want to be a boat rocker. But and you said proving data. If you see something is wrong and you certainly have the data to support it, speak
Hmm.
up. It
Speak up.
could be, just because we've always done something a certain way doesn't mean we always should.
Yes.
Things are changing, business is changing, roles are changing, and it is important to have those people that do just that. And I've even said in meetings before, like, listen, I don't have analytics to support what I'm saying. I'm just putting this out there. I feel like everything inside of me from what I know about business and business strategy is that this isn't working. Give me 3 months to dig into these analytics and see things that may be changing. But I just want to put this on everyone's radar. I'm looking into this because I don't see that this is working. But
Absolutely.
if you have that data, those data points to support it, make a change. Go
Hmm.
in there and just start building and going. And it is amazing when you start building, people will join.
Hmm.
When you start communicating, you said that power of communication, when you start communicating that vision, people start coming together.
Absolutely.
What is one belief you've had to unlearn to get to where you are now?
So many. I mean, imposter syndrome is probably one that so many women get all the time. So that is the first one, and I would say your number one enemy is yourself with imposter syndrome. So you have to relearn and rewire your brain and stop telling yourself that you can't do it because you can. The other thing would be that you have to do it alone. So many people feel like they're alone, like you mentioned. You don't have to do alone. Most of the time, you don't want to actually, because if you have someone else who believes in you, it's going to empower you even more, even if they never say it out loud to anyone else. But just knowing that someone believes in you is really, really powerful for getting things done. So believe in yourself, get rid of imposter syndrome, and then find your person or a person that also believes in you to help empower you. Don't do anything alone. Even if it's like, I don't want feedback or anything, but I just need to say something out loud. You need to find the person you can just say something out loud to. Usually you'll come up with even more ideas. I'm lucky enough that my husband also works at the company, so I can only say so many out loud things to him, right? Because of different positions that we fill. Pillow talk doesn't always get to be about work. So I have to find someone that can be, that outside voice that I get to speak to and formulate ideas, even if they have no idea what I'm talking about. So don't do it alone and believe in yourself. Two biggest things that you have to learn and relearn.
I love both of those. Here is a burning question. I'm sure people listening are like asking this question. So I'm going to ask and say it out loud. What's next? What are you building next?
Next is just to continue on the journey. We are rebuilding how we do sales and marketing, and it's a true journey of just figuring things out because it changes so quickly. So looking into different marketing practices and putting new tools in place. It's going to be a really great year because we've put a lot of changes right here in the beginning of the year. So I'm almost like trying not to fast forward time too much to see what the data tells me at the end of the year with all of these great new tools and new beliefs and new ways of doing things. So now it's my digging in and honing my craft. So looking forward to just learning more. I love learning. So I'm really excited for this part because I'm in my fixing era, I'm in my learning era, and really digging in and just becoming more of an expert in this space.
Love it. If someone's listening and wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
LinkedIn, I'm on there. You can look for Michelle Serna, and trying to think where else I would be. I think mostly just LinkedIn. I've got a Facebook if people still use Facebook, but LinkedIn
Put
is a great
your
way.
LinkedIn, True North, the website
True
will all
North,
be
absolutely.
in the
Yes.
show notes so people can
Yep.
reach out and connect with you there. You're at tons of
Absolutely.
industry events. You speak across
Yes.
the country at these events. You're, as I like to call it, you're out in the wild with me. Michelle, this conversation is an absolute masterclass in proactive leadership, not necessarily loud leadership, not always title first leadership, but certainly impact first leadership. So if you're listening, you don't need a job description to lead. You need clarity, you need courage and willingness to see what others may walk past. If you feel that gut feeling that something needs to change, dig in, lean in, and make the change. Michelle, thank you for building what
Thank
didn't
you.
exist.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me. How much fun.
of course. All right. Until next time, this has been Coffee Talk. Thank you for joining us today on Coffee Talk. A special thanks to my guests for sharing their story and to you, the listener, for being a part of this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a Monday morning chat. Until next time, I'm Kate Coffey Bacon, and this has been Coffee Talk.